What's up everybody, Sunkissed here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over a Gatling Plasma build. This one will be slightly different as we're going to be using a beam splitter, which not a lot of people do use, and this is going to help us stack Bulletstorm really fast. I did some testing and I think it's the fastest to be able to reach max Bulletstorm stacks. Not entirely sure. If there's something faster, let me know down in the comments. And I'd also like to know, what is your favorite weapon in Fallout 76? Like, comment, subscribe, and hype the video, and I'll catch you at the end. Oh, I mean, it just melted it, and that was level 100 too. Alright, so our weapon here today is going to be a Gatling Plasma with the legendary effects Furious, Rapid, VATS-optimized, and Conductors. I was able to get my hand on a calibrated capacitor and a stinging core receptacle. I know not everybody is, so the bare minimum for this build, you just need to have the beam splitter, so that way you're stacking Bulletstorm as fast as possible. You will note that the AP cost is very high on this weapon, and I'm not going to sit here and try and say this is better or even close to as good as the Gauss minigun. Nothing even holds a candle to that right now. So, yeah, this is just if you want to have fun with an off-meta weapon, and I would say that it's still top 5. Maybe not this version of the Gatling Plas, just because the non-beam splitting version is easier to stay in VATS, but this is a really fun way to run it, and I really enjoy it, and you can do the, 6 Guardian and other activities very easily with this build. But here's what I have on mine. Again, the only thing you really need is the beam splitter, so that way you can essentially have 12 projectiles, which will stack Bulletstorm really fast. As far as getting your hands on a Gatling Plas, your best bet is going to be the Modus Armory terminal in the White Springs bunker. This requires you to have at least started or gotten to a certain point of the Enclave quest line, so make sure you've done that. You can also find plans for the Gatling Plas in containers in the Salvage Divide, Ash Heap, Mire, and Cranberry Bog regions. And here are a couple of the creatures that can drop them. More or less, just take a look at this chart I got from Fallout Wiki, and you can see where you can get them. You can actually buy actual Gatling Plasmas and Gatling Plasma plans from the Modus terminal. Now, there are some rare mods that you have to get from other means, but I suggest you look at a guide video on YouTube. I'll link a couple in the description, so go take a peek at those if you'd like. Our armor for this build is going to be a full set of Vulcan, and I'm utilizing Nocturnals, +2 endurance, through hikers, and limit breaking. That is because I'm a bloodied build. I would definitely go with either powered or +2 agility as the second star if you're not bloodied, or if you're running a ghoul character. That will help you stay in VATS for longer, or when you run out of your AP, help you replenish it faster. So I definitely would recommend those. First star, I do recommend Nocturnals, and then just make sure that you have one piece of Chameleon, so that way you can activate your Nocturnals pretty easily. I do have the gimbal bracers on here on the arm pieces. This actually does make a difference because it will help tighten your hipfire spread, which you can see is pretty wide when you're outside of power armor. But definitely recommend running Vulcan for this, especially because the set bonus gives you, where is it here? Gives you the extra AP regeneration rate, and also makes your fusion core last longer. And since fusion core drain is based on AP cost, this weapon has a high AP cost. You're going to go through fusion cores definitely quicker than you would expect. For buffs, we are running Psycho buff and Big Gun Bobblehead. And then since I'm a herbivore, we're running Blight Soup. And a quick look at our mutations. We have Adrenal Reaction, Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Healing Factor, Herbivore, Herd Mentality, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. This is what I run on all of my builds. I would say the most important, if you're just looking to do max damage, is making sure that you have Eagle Eyes equipped for extra critical damage, Adrenal Reaction so you can gain extra damage while on a kill streak, And then also Egghead, believe it or not, since the Science perk card, which we use in this build, scales based on your intelligence level. Taking a look at our special point allocation, here is that. If you'd like to take a screenshot, you will notice I do have 2 extra points in agility that are not, I don't want to say wasted, but I do have over 15 agility since I have legendary agility, but I wanted to just get as much AP as possible, so that's why I added a little extra agility past what's needed. Looking at our legendary cards, we just have maxed out special cards for 5 of them, and then taking one for the team maxed out. I'll show you when I do this, when I test this against the EON06, but I do swap out perception and remove a few cards so that way I can add follow through, because follow through makes a big difference against the Guardian. So I am on a bloodied human build. I'll talk briefly about what you can swap in and out depending on if you're deciding to go full health or ghoul. But starting off in strength, for carry weight, we have strong back, bandolier. I guess bandolier is just being shared. Arms keeper, and those are the only 2 I have for carry weight. I do have blocker on because when you're fighting against the ultrasight terror, this will actually save your life more often than you'd think. So this is really helpful if you're bloodied. We pretty much have all the Bulletstorm cards here. We got Bring In the big guns, Tightly Wound, Lock and Load, and Bulletstorm. So we will be able to get our max stack of 20 for Bulletstorm, and when we reload, we still keep 10. Over in Perception, we have Number Cruncher for extra damage, Painkiller for armor penetration, Concentrated Fire rank 2 for VATS accuracy and a little bit of extra damage, Awareness for better VATS accuracy, Downranger for a little bit better damage at range, Life Giver, Thirst Quencher, Bullet Shield, Vaccinated, and Starch Jeans. Vaccinated and Thirst Quencher synergize really nicely because you get extra AP when you're not diseased with Thirst Quencher, and Vaccinated gives you increased disease resistance. Bullet Shield is going to be absolutely needed for EON06 Guardian, and overall is just a good card to have on your heavy builds. Strange in Number to buff our positive effects from mutations. Since a few of our mutations are actually affecting how much damage we're doing, this card indirectly, transitive property, whatever you want to call it, gives you extra damage. Tenderizer also is giving us extra damage the longer we shoot at our enemies. Nerd Rage since we're bloodied. Power User to make our fusion cores last longer. Stabilized because this weapon has quite a bit of spread if you're not using Stabilized. Science because this will buff the energy portion of the damage from the Gatling Plasma. Batteries included because we're carrying around fusion cores and plasma cores, and those are very heavy if you're not using this. Curator so that our bobbleheads and magazines last longer, and good with salt so our food buffs don't go bad. Now, since this weapon does have a very high AP cost, I wanted to make this build for somebody if they don't have access to canned coffee. Obviously, if you want to get your max DPS, you're going to spam canned coffee before you fight any sort of actually tanky enemies, but I do have 3 ranks of Action Boy and 1 rank of Pack-In Light for extra AP regen. 1 rank of Gun Fu for target switching. This is just a nice quality of life perk to have on every build. Gunslinger Expert, Guerrilla Master, just a few of the onslaught perk cards more or less. And over in Luck, it's pretty standard for a VATS crit build. We have better criticals, 1 Gun Army, 4 Leaf Clover, Class Freak, and Critical Savvy. Now, if you're a human character, obviously you could remove Nerd Rage. And what I would put instead of Nerd Rage is you could add maybe 2 ranks of Center Masochist for extra torso damage. And if you're a ghoul, you could get rid of Nerd Rage and potentially Life Giver, or something in Intelligence, whatever it may be. But I would definitely run Faulty Spots for extra weak point damage and Glowing Criticals for extra critical damage as well. And if you are a newer player and you need to remove some perk cards, obviously I have a lot of extra cards in this build because this is more of an end game build. I'll just name a few that you can take out in order to make room for stuff. So you could get rid of Arms Keeper if you're not carrying a bunch of weapons. You could get rid of blocker. If you're a new player, I wouldn't recommend running this build bloodied. So get rid of these 2 cards. That'll free up 2 points right there. You could get rid of strong back. That's another 2 points right there. You don't absolutely need awareness. It's helpful, but you could get rid of that. Especially if you're running full health, like I recommend a new player for this build. If you are going to do it, I should say. You could get rid of Life Giver. You could get rid of Tenderizer because it doesn't add that much extra damage. Obviously, if you're min-maxing, you would want this card, but you could remove this in order to make this build happen. Don't absolutely need Science, and you don't absolutely need batteries included as long as you're not carrying a bunch of stuff with you. Also, you could get rid of Gun Fu and Born Survivor. If you're full health, you don't really need Born Survivor as much, and Gun Fu is more of a quality of life perk. Now, there may be a few perks that I'm missing out on, but just wanted to list a few that you could remove if you're trying to copy this build. All right, we're over at the Grindstone Arch. I'm going to pick up a couple stacks of Adrenaline Quick from these Super Mutants, and then we'll fight a Super Mutant Behemoth. So as you can see, this thing really does eat AP, so we're mostly just using VATS as often as we can. So just use VATS till your AP's gone, let it regen while you keep shooting, and then just re-enter VATS, essentially. But I imagine we're gonna take care of the Superman here pretty quickly. Do I have a Blight Soup going? Let me take a Blight Soup so I can buff my critical damage a little bit. And get my second buff going here. There you are. Okay, level 60 Behemoth. Let's see here. Yeah, no problem at all. All right, we're going to test and see how we do against the Guardian here. I did change up a few things. I am running my ENO6 armor, which is 4 pieces of troubleshooters and plus 2 luck, food, drink, chemlate, and the most important star is having reflective. I believe it's all, yeah, and then 1 piece of chameleon to help us sneak at the end. And I did change up a few perks. I got rid of awareness and downranger so I could put on center masochist, and then I got rid of good with salt and curator so I could put essentially I had to remove a legendary special card so I could put follow through on. But those are the tweaks that I made if you're going to face the NO6 with this build. All right, we're over at the Grindstone Arch. I'm going to pick up a couple stacks of Adrenaline Quick from these Super Mutants, and then we'll fight a Super Mutant Behemoth. So as you can see, this thing really does eat AP, so we're mostly just using VATS as often as we can. So just use VATS till your AP's gone. Let it regen while you keep shooting, and then just re-enter VATS, essentially. But I imagine we're gonna take care of the Superman here pretty quickly. Do I have a Blight Soup going? Let me take a Blight Soup so I can buff my critical damage a little bit. And get my second buff going here. There you are. Okay, level 60 Behemoth. Let's see here. Yeah, no problem at all. Shoot occasionally to keep our bullet storm active. Give it a minute to say we're in HUD now. And the numbers you're seeing are pretty decent so far, I'm not gonna lie. I think we'll get it done in 1 meg. Not bad, 109. If I had a little bit better of AP going, or if I spammed coffees, I definitely could have gotten that under a minute. 2 at once, I guess. First, let's see how we do against the Smiley Queen here. Oh! Oh, I mean, it just melted it, and that was level 100 too. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button to stick around for future content. Hit the notification bell to be notified when future videos come out. And check the video down below if you'd like to see a beginner stealth build in Fallout 76. Thanks again. See you in the next one.